whoradio.com. Enter it in the appropriate place and get points for stuff. I'm very pleased to say that joining us on the line right now is our very own Congressman Tom Latham. Congressman, welcome back to the Simon Conway Show.
Well, thank you very much, Simon. Great to be with you.
Now, you today, along with Congressman King, were named to the Missouri River Flood Study Panel. I'm always nervous when Congress is studying anything because it seems to take a lot of time and a lot of money. Can you explain exactly what you guys are going to be doing?
Well, this is actually a working group. Congresswoman Christy Noem from South Dakota has brought in members from South Dakota, North Dakota, Nebraska, Iowa, Missouri. We're very concerned about the management of the Missouri River. Obviously, we've had the unprecedented flooding there gone on now for well over 3 months, and the impact that that's had on human beings all up and down the Missouri River, and trying to find an answer to the problem. And is it management of the river, of the dams up in Montana, the Dakotas? What can the Army Corps of Engineers do if legislation is needed to fix the problem? But that's the idea of the working group here. It's a bunch of members together that have a common disaster on their hands, basically, and trying to fix the problem long term.
Have you given yourselves a time deadline to come up with a conclusion?
Legislation, I believe, and Steve King has been working on some legislation. There's another member from Kansas that has been working on some legislation, but will be introduced in the next few weeks, and we're going to try and have hearings. We're asking Chairman Micah from the Transportation Infrastructure Committee that has oversight over the Army Corps of Engineers to hold public hearings. We want to listen to people. I want to get input from the people affected. I mean, if you go over on the Missouri today and talk to the farmers that have been wiped out, and some of 5, 6 generations, the cities that have been inundated, the cost that they've incurred because of the management of the river the way it is. We've got to be able to listen to people and do the right thing long term. That's what this is all about.
Steve King's bill, the Missouri River Flood Control Bill, is going to be introduced tomorrow. You're one of the co-sponsors. Right. What does that bill aim to achieve?
Well, from listening to people, what it does is say that flood control is, in fact, the number one priority. And what we've had recently, since the Missouri River Manual was put in place, that has the process in which the Army Corps of Engineers manages the river, there are 8 different priorities in it, and flood control is not any greater than, say, the Pallid sturgeon or the least tern up there, recreation interest, all of those things. But what his bill does will say that, listen, flood control, human beings, their lives, their properties are the number one priority for management of the river, and I think that is extraordinarily important.
Okay, so we should be looking forward to something being on the president's desk when?
Well, certainly, I think we can move it through the House quite readily. Hopefully in the next month to 6 weeks, and around here, that's lightning speed. The Senate, certainly, we're trying to get support over there from Senator Grassley, Senator Harkin, from the Iowa delegation, from the other delegations along the river.
I mean, all three Democrats in the Iowa delegation to the House are co-sponsoring this bill as well.
Right. And, which is, it's obviously, it's not when you have flooding, when you have people's lives being destroyed, it's not a partisan issue.
It shouldn't be.
We've got to get this thing fixed. We're setting up right now for another disaster next year, because it'll take about 3 months to assess the damage done once the river finally goes down. And by that time, you're into winter, and you're not going to be able to fix the levees, make any real repairs to the system. And next spring, and what they're going to have to do is raise the water level in the dams to get the flow down to the point where they can actually see what the damage is. And then you've got this mass amount of water up above in the dams for next spring again. So I'm very concerned about next year's problems too.
So the people who suffered this year are likely not to get any relief, even if you can get this legislation passed quickly in the immediate future, is what you're telling us.
Well, we're talking about the management side of the river, the relief part of it. We have to make sure that the state of Iowa has an application that's approved for individuals to be able to get relief, get some help as far as the damages, as has Nebraska, as South Dakota, as North Dakota, as Missouri has. The first initial request from FEMA to FEMA was denied because they weren't able to see how much damage there was yet because the water was still up. They need to resubmit an application for help, get that approved. But they're really two separate issues: the mediation of the damage over there. And
sure. What I meant by relief was a lack of flooding next year, is what I really meant.
Right.
Okay. While I've got you on the phone, you're getting ready to welcome a new member of the House for the representative for New York District 9. That was quite an incredible result last night, wasn't it?
Well, yes. There's a new Republican from the state of Nevada, and this incredible victory up in New York. This is a seat that's been held by Democrats for about 90 years. It's obviously Anthony Weiner's old seat, but Chuck Schumer, Geraldine Ferrero, used to have this seat. So it's been a long-term Democrat seat, and I think it just reflects the mood of the country that people are disgusted with the president. It was a referendum on President Obama. They are very, very concerned about the future of this country, about the lack of any jobs and the failed policies.
Can you believe that Debbie Wasserman Schultz said, and I quote, "New York 9 is a very difficult district for Democrats," unquote?
She had to say something.
But really, she expects us to buy that? I mean, it's been Democrat for almost 100 years.
Yeah, you're exactly right. So, and people, I think everyone who heard her say that was like going, well, I guess you had to find some excuse someplace to make it
I've said
it was truly a referendum on this administration, on this president, and it wasn't even close.
I've said it before, Congressman, you're a much nicer man than me. I don't give her that much credit. I honestly think they believe that they open their mouths and we the people buy the garbage. I really do. It's amazing. And finally, I'm not sure if you're aware, but we had the chair of the Iowa State Democrats on my show yesterday, live in studio. I was very grateful that she came in, but she had some very interesting things to say. We asked her about balancing the budget. She said that would be draconian. Are they really that out of touch?
The thing we have to do is have an amendment to the Constitution that balances the budget, because otherwise, the incentive in Congress is to continually spend more money. Money is power in Washington, and it takes. And the bigger Washington is, the smaller the citizen is, and we've got to change that. And just the idea of draconian. What's draconian is the unemployment we have today because of the huge government, the spending, the deficit, the debt that we have. What's draconian is the impact it's had on families today, and that's where the problem is. I'm not sure someone who would say that really understands anything about economics, understands anything about the people who are out there working their tails off every day, and small business people that are trying to grow their business and invest.
Well, we've been told two things now by Democrats in Iowa regarding balancing the budget. One, those of us that want to do it are on the cult fringe, and now that to balance the budget would be draconian. Congressman Tom Latham, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today.
Always great to be with you, Simon. Thank you.
We'll speak to you again soon. 284-1040, 800-469-4295.